right, let's get going. I'm your host, Dixon Jowers, and here we are with Hole Watch, brought to you by On the Box with Dixon Jowers. And man, we got another episode coming out. That means major tournament is happening. And for this major tournament, we are heading out to Santa Cruz for the third National Tour stop of the 2018 season for the Masters Cup at DeLaVeaga Golf Course. In years past, or at least last year, they got away from most of the golf taking place at DeLaVeaga Disc Golf Course, and they had 2 rounds out at the Ball Golf Course. This year, I think they heard some of the feedback from last year in that De La is one of the classic courses, one of the most famous courses, been around for forever, and has all of this history behind it. And how can you have a tournament that takes place at that course, but not a majority of the time? And so they are back to having 2 rounds of 24 at DeLaVeaga Disc Golf Course, with the final round of 18 happening at DeLaVeaga Ball Golf Course. But we're going to be at the Disc Golf Course. So Ball Golf has what? Hole 17 at the old course, St. Andrews, right? The road hole with the big pop bunker. Horse racing has Churchill Downs. Baseball has the Green Monster at Fenway. The NFL has Lambeau Field, right? College basketball has Cameron Indoor Arena. College football has the Horseshoe or Neyland Stadium or Notre Dame Stadium or the Rose Bowl, right? There's all of these classic places. Disc golf, some of our most famous holes from the things that we're going to put out there, as these are some of the best. Hole number 27 at DeLaVeaga Disc Golf Course, also known as Top of the World, is one of these things for us. Classic hole of disc golf, super famous, super beautiful. It's called Top of the World because as you progress the first 25, 24 holes, 23, I guess, you start kind of working up this hill. 27th hole, you start at the top and you are throwing down. Now, it's only 550 feet down. You're throwing right to the parking lot, right back to the tee box of hole 1, kind of over the tee box of hole 2. It's all right there for you. It's right in front of you. And the reality is, every player in the MPO field, and likely most of the FPO as well, can park this hole. And the fun thing about it is, if you like to throw flicks, there's a big flick. If you like to throw big hyzers, there's one of those. If you want to throw a turnover something stable, you can do that with both hands to flex back to the middle. Some people just throw straight putters at it. A lot of mid-range shots. Everything is available for you to do. Distance is not really the issue unless you go long. The basket's 550. If you go 600, and maybe not even that far, but 600 in a straight line is going to put you in a road. It's very easy. You may think, going OB 600. No, it's very easy with that sort of downslope that we're talking about. So what I want to do is look at, it's not a hole that you manage, right? I guess unless you had a big lead, you could just throw a big hyzer, get out somewhere in the middle and lay up. But it's not really a hole that you have to manage. You pick your line off the box and you commit to it. That's all this hole boils down to. So we're going to look at some of the famous shots that have happened on this hole by some of the best disc golfers. I'm going to show you what works. And then if there is a danger with that particular throw, we're going to show you those dangers. So you ready to get started? Here we go. Let's head up to the top of the mountain and take a look at what this hole is. So this hole's called Top of the World for a reason. If it's on a clear day, you can see Monterey Bay. You can see downtown Santa Cruz. I don't know if you can see the beach boardwalk. You might be able to, but it's just a fantastic view from up top, and it's one of the things that makes this hole so enjoyable, so iconic, so beautiful, the whole thing. If you've played all 27 holes at this point, by the time you're up top here, you are dadgum tired. Because even before you get to that last hill, there is a lot of up and down, especially if you're playing bad and you've had to go down extra cliffs to get your discs. So you are tired. And so just to have a seat on this bench and look out over the bay, that's one of the things that makes this so enjoyable. So for a long course that's difficult, that's going to beat you up, that's going to make you tired, and then you're going to have to go up a hill at the very end, knowing that you have this waiting for you is one of the things that makes this hole so enjoyable. All right, let's take a look at the hyzer line. Now, this isn't the giant hyzer. This is kind of the regular hyzer. So this is Manabu from the 2017 Masters Cup. And he is trying to put a stable disc out flat to the right. And just as the speed takes over and as the speed starts to lessen and gravity begins to take over, he just wants it to fall way to the left. Now, as you'll see, he hits this tree over here on the right. Now it seems like, because that happened so quick, that he's going to be like a million miles away and in trouble. But you can see it fall flat down here, straight down below the tree, and he actually ends up in the fairway right by hole 2's tee box. And we'll come and take a look at what sort of upshot this leaves. So while it seems really bad, as we'll see, yes, it's savable. It's not the best spot, it's not the worst spot, but it's not where you're looking to be off the box. All right, so let's take a look at the forehand now. Here we have Steve Rico from the 2016 Masters Cup, and he throws the aggressive, low, turned over forehand, but as you can see, he gets it turned over a little too much, gets a little too much glide. He's going right at the parking lot, and he hyzer skips into the road, almost taking out. Did you notice who was walking right there? That was Ricky Wysocki heading down the road. This is the aggressive shot if you're taking the forehand and trying to deuce it. So what this is going to leave Rico, he goes OB. He's going to have about a 70 or an 80 footer away from OB, but not a terribly makeable putt. So this is the danger if you're taking that hyzer or taking that forehand line, of getting too aggressive with it and flying right out the back. Now here we have Ricky, also in the 2017 Masters Cup, and he goes with the forehand, but this is what happens when you don't commit to the forehand. There is a parking lot that is down left of the basket. You'll see on some of these videos. You have to pretty much try to hit the parking lot. You want to throw it flat and hard right at those guys and let the stability take over at the end of the shot. Ricky doesn't commit to that shot. He errs on the good side. Now, he had a fantastic round going at this point, and so it's it's not terrible. So he hyzers back to the right, and you're going to see the upshot that it gives you. So it's a safe way to play the hole. If you don't want an out of bounds, the forehand is the way to go. You throw something that dumps in the middle. You jump putt, you lay up, you take your 3, and you move on. Now here's what you want the forehand to look like, and of course we're going to go to Nate Sexton. He shows how to do it. Here he is throwing his star X-Cal, and the forehand works for the birdie, but you have to be a little bit aggressive. You have to get it flat for a while. You have to get it high enough so that it gets down there, but it's a little bit touchy, and so to get it to stick, to get it to where you're putting, takes really a fantastic forehand skill. And as we can see, Nate puts it out here to the left. He keeps it high. It's a stable enough disc to come back, and he spikes it inside the circle, closer than the fence that is protecting the baby tree. He's going to have a wide open putt for his birdie. Nate Sexton showing us how you play top of the world if you want to take the forehand route. So I wanted to show Manaboo's first so that you understood the tree that we're dealing with here. So Dustin Keegan, this is from the 2016 Masters Cup. He is going to take that hyzer route, but he's going with the big high hyzer route, and he's actually going around the tree that Manaboo hit. And as you can see, I mean, it's a 550-foot hole, but he's probably adding a couple 100 feet by going as wide as he is. But because of the elevation and because the disc can move so far to the left once it starts dying, he's able to cover that distance and get back. And as you can see, he spikes the green inside the circle. This is what you hope for on the big hyzer line, that it's going to come in at a knife angle and just absolutely die. Dustin does it perfectly. Here we have Eagle, and he's going with a little bit of a different route. He is turning over something stable on the skinny hyzer line. So out to the right, but not the big hyzer and not the flat shot. He turns it over, forces it over, and as you can see, this thing flexes back, and he is absolutely parked. Now, this is a little more advanced of a shot than either the big forehand or the big hyzer, because of you're trying to ride that ante for a little bit to get the right distance and to get to far enough to the right so that when that overstability takes over, it comes hooking back way to the left. Now, this is an interesting way to do it. The benefit for this is that because you're throwing such an overstable disc, once it comes back to the left, it's going to start, that nose is going to start diving, and it should hit the ground at quite a spike angle. And it keeps the trees that are off to the right out of play, and it generally allows you, if you get your distance right, to come in before the spider tree that blocks a lot of the hyzers that are kind of coming back at the hole. So really creative way that Eagle did it here, and a fantastic finish. Okay, so if you don't have giant power to go around the trees out to the right, if you don't feel like throwing that forehand, or you don't have that forehand, or if you're not able to turn over something stable like eagle, here's probably the most traditional route. This is Nate Doss going with kind of the skinny hyzer. He's throwing. I got to imagine this is his buzz or wasp. It looks like a mid range, and he's just throwing it flat out to the right a little bit and just going to let it hyzer back. And as you can see, as Nate Doss is known to do a couple of times in his life, he absolutely parks it. This is the way that most of us would go about doing this hole. Keep the nose down a little bit, and just give it a good spin, so that you keep going flat for a long time. Let the stability of the disc take over at the end. Slide down the hill a little bit. He's still landing uphill from the basket so that he's got some room to move without landing close to the basket on the hard pack and heading towards OB. So Nate Doss, local boy, winning world championships out there, winning Masters Cups out there. He knows this course. He's played it a few times, and he shows us all how we should play it. So now that we've kind of gone through the range of where the drives can get you, let's go visit some of these upshots. So first off, let's take a look at Manabu, at the drive that hit the tree and fell down. We'll see what he's left with. He has a really tight line that he's got to do, and he's actually sitting right here on that's 2's tee box that you see in the frame there. And he is going to have a skinny line to get around this tree and around the fence they built to protect the little baby tree that's right there by the basket. Now, he can't go to the right of that screen because the big spider tree is there, and it is tough putting inside of there and also putting right at OB. And he does a fantastic job to get himself an open putt inside the circle to save his 3. Ricky, on the other hand, with his dump forehand that he threw, landed out in the field here, Ricky has to go between the spider tree and the fence. Now, as Ricky is wont to do with his harp, he absolutely parks it. But you can see the touch necessary on this hole. He's going downhill, and he's landing on hard pack going towards OB. If you've never played DeLaVeaga, dealing with the hard pack is absolutely a part of the course. It's like if you're playing at a lake course or a course near the ocean, and wind is just always something that you're going to have to deal with. The hard pack at DeLaVeaga is unbelievable how much it'll slide a disc when you're trying to lay up something. So the downhill shot to a hard pack towards OB in between a gap, that is a crazy difficult shot, and you can see that it's capable, it's doable by somebody that is a world champion. You or I might not make this shot look so good. Now let's look at some of the magic that can happen at this hole. This is from a casual round and a highly viewed video in the disc golf world. This is a casual round, a guy by the name of Alejandro Llamas, and he is throwing a Legacy Ghost here, which is a mid-range, right, just the perfect flat shot. And if you haven't seen it before, let's just take a look, and I'm going to let the shot speak for itself. Yep.
Yeah, buddy.
Dude, that
Just get in the hole.
That looks so good.
Get in the hole.
Come on. So good.
Oh my God!
So there you go, top of the world. It's not really about putting. Unless you get stuck in the spider tree, you're going to pretty much have a wide open putt. So this green isn't really about that. This is all about the approach. Well, the drive, really, on a 550-foot hole. And the fun part is, there's so many different ways to get there. You take your best shot, and you see what you can do. For me, I would probably throw the big giant hyzer, or the skinny hyzer with maybe like a stable fairway disc. But that's the beauty of it. You can do it however you want. So if you ever find yourself in Santa Cruz, even if you don't have a time for full 27 at DeLaVeaga, man, drive up to the parking lot, hike up the hill, empty your bag on top of the world, and be a part of one of the most iconic holes in disc golf. Now, also, being that they're playing 2 rounds out at the DeLaVeaga Disc Golf Course, this hole is going to come into play twice for our players, and it's always the last hole of the round. They always do tee times out here. So everybody is going to be looking forward to this hole, and we're going to see how it's going to affect. I don't think that this hole is going to be the story of the round. It's pretty difficult to get more than a 4 on this hole. I'd say probably, let's take our top, 25 or 30 guys. Anybody that has the skills to win this tournament, I bet there's going to be 0 5s in there. You'd have to have a bad drive and to really get stationed somewhere, or to get a bad kick on an upshot, something like that. I imagine that 5 is going to be the absolute highest score that any of those would have, and I bet not even any of them. 2s, 3s, 4s is what's going to happen. So this hole isn't necessarily the story of the round, but you can't talk about DeLa without talking about Top of the World. So I hope you enjoyed it. Share this with your friends. Let me know in the comments how you have played this hole, or how you would play it differently, or maybe something that you feel is an important part of the strategy of this hole that I left out. Thank you for joining in. This has been Hole Watch, presented by On the Box with Dixon Jowers. If you like this sort of stuff, come join over on our Facebook page for our podcast, On the Box with Dixon Jowers. We just love talking about tournaments. We love talking about disc golf, and we'd love for more and more people to be involved. We'll see you next time, actually next week, for our Hole Watch for the San Francisco Open, stop number, what is that, 4? Yeah, stop number 4 on the Disc Golf Pro Tour. So we'll catch you next week. Thanks for tuning in.